Yeah, it's fine. Okay, it looks like our fourth panelist is here, so that's great. Tony, hi.
Hey, hello. How is everyone doing?
Good, good. How are you, Tony?
I'm good, thank you. What's up?
Very long time.
It's a very long time.
I know.
Yeah.
It's good to connect on this platform. Yeah. Also, Krishna.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so very, very good afternoon to you guys. We have people in many different countries right now. So we have Audrey, who is to my far left, who is in South Africa and works as a clinical psychologist. Practice there, so I will let her introduce herself later. Then we have Edward, who is founded his own company in Zimbabwe called Development Reimagination Group. Edward is in Zimbabwe. He'll tell us more about that as we go on. Then we have Krishna, who is currently in Oxford, who will be working as a banker in London starting very soon, graduated from Oxford. And we have Tony, who is on my immediate left, who is a current DPhil PhD candidate in Oxford, but is currently in Kenya. So we have people in is it 4 different countries: South Africa, Kenya, Zimbabwe, and UK. Yes. So this is particularly fantastic and exciting to me to be able to moderate people across the world. And that's the entire idea of having these sessions of just being able to connect people from different parts of the world to share their different experiences with students in Zimbabwe. And in the room, we also have about 15 or so students from Muriimwe High School. So the guys from Muriimwe, maybe before we can start our session, I would like to just call upon a few of the students we have in the room so they can. Actually, we have 50 students in the room, so it's massive number of students, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Farai, maybe you can facilitate for us to have 2 or 3 students introduce themselves, so we kind of know what kind of demographic we're working with. So, in the room, can we have Tafadzwa Ziwewe, who is one of the students, and Chido, and also Kuziwa Kwashe to come up front and just introduce themselves, tell us your names and what you are studying at Muriimwe High School and things like that, and something interesting about you. Okay, can you have Tafadzwa to start? Tafadzwa Ziwewe and Chido Makwili, and we can also have Asha Kambarame here.
My name is Tafadzwa Ziwewe, and I'm from Muriimwe Secondary School, and the subject that I like the most are accounts, chemistry, bio, and English. So that's all.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, Tafadzwa, can you share with us anything interesting about you that you'd like the panelists to know today?
Something that I'm scared of locusts.
Okay, that's a good one. Well, nice to meet you, Tafadzwa. Yeah, we can get the next student.
Hi, I'm Chiboma Kisi. I'm from Muriimwe, and the subjects I'm taking English, maths, new sciences, is excluding physics and accounts. I think that's all.
Oh, that's fantastic. Nice to meet you, Chido. Anything exciting that you want to share with the panelists, or anything interesting about you that you want to share with the panelists? Sorry, can you say that again? Yeah.
I'm talking
Oh, we didn't quite hear. Sorry. What was that?
I'm talkative.
Oh, okay, that's good. All right. Thank you, Chido. Yeah, we can have one more student. So it's kind of exciting to see different kind of interests and exciting things about the students. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Dennis. I'm 15 years old. The subjects that I like are biology, chemistry, English, and mathematics.
Okay, one exciting thing or interesting thing you want to share?
Don't have anything else.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. All right, thank you so much. It said it doesn't have anything.
Did we hear her name? I didn't hear her name.
Oh, sorry. What was the name of the last student?
I didn't.
Farai, what was the name of the last student? Hello, Farai?
No.
Oh, I think these guys, yeah, they may not be hearing us. Farai, can you please tell us what the name of the last student was? Yeah. What was the name of the last student?
Kuziwa Kwashe.
Oh, fantastic. So we have heads from Tafadzwa and Chido and Kuziwa Kwashe. Okay, fantastic. So yeah, we will go ahead and start. So I think the topic today we are discussing is personal branding and social media etiquette. And because we have panelists who have different experiences, everything that we're going to share and all the experiences we're going to share is, we want to make this session from the basics of like, what is personal branding? What is social media? And why do these things matter? Why should a high school student be thinking of these things now? So before we go into that, we'll just start with you, Audrey. Just introduce yourself and tell the students something interesting about you. And we'll move on to every other panelist. Over to you here.
Thank you very much for having me. I am excited to be part of today's panel, and I hope I don't have any problems with the internet. That happened in the last session that I was. I currently am based in Johannesburg. I run my own business, and I am also a clinical psychologist as part of the business. And I'm happy to be here, and I think it's also great that we are looking at personal branding and online etiquette while you're in high school, because I think you will be able to think more broadly. I don't think I really have anything interesting to say about myself, except
I'm sure you do.
No. The only thing I can say is I like to father. I'm not afraid of locusts. That's probably the only thing I can comment on.
Well, fantastic. Thanks so much, Audrey. Over to you, Edward.
Good. How are you, everybody? My name is Edward Muguza, and I'm currently here in Harare, Zimbabwe, so not very far away from you guys that are at Highfield Morime. And before I go into detail about myself, an exciting thing is that I grew up in Glenora. I went to school at Highfield High 1. So that's something very exciting that I'm a product of Highfield, so we can relate and at so many levels with you guys. If I can think about myself 15 years ago, I was pretty much like, in your shoes at Highfield High. And right now, like, I'm at a different stage right now, but I still relate a lot to Highfield. So just a little bit about myself. I'm currently the executive director or founder of the Development Reimagination Group, or DRG Africa in short, which is more, it's a development think tank and a consulting firm that we started here in Harare, Zimbabwe, with the goal of pretty much galvanizing the voice of young people to influence policy and government decisions. And like, the main motivation behind it is that, like, we need to create a safe space for young people like yourselves and also other young people that are on this panel to be able to constructively contribute to national building and also to the business society. So that's the work that I've been doing for the past year. But prior to that, I started off my career in business consulting in the United States. That's where I went to school after my A levels at Highfield High. So I did my undergraduate in chemistry, then moved into business consulting, then went on to work in the development space at the Clinton Foundation for about 3 to 4 years. And then I went back to school at the University of Oxford, where I studied public policy. And after that, I moved back home to Zimbabwe, where I am right now, to work pretty much like, found the organization that I'm. So that's a brief background about myself, and an exciting thing is that I'm part of you guys. I'm from Highfield.
Oh, fantastic. So someone from Highfield. Thanks, Edward.
Yeah.
Over to you, Krishna.
Okay, so I don't have a Highfield story, but I was born in Belvedere. I've lived there most of my life. So I went to Belvedere Primary School, then I went to PE, then I went to UZ immediately after that. And then I worked for a few years in like the financial services sector doing software development. I also had a few startups along the way. Most of them didn't work out, some of them did. And then I felt that I'm as Prince mentioned earlier, I'm about to start a job in a bank. So yeah, that's pretty much my life story.
Oh, fantastic. So Krishna mentioned a lot of acronyms, right? UZ, PE, and some people may not know what that is.
So UZ, as I'm sure everyone in Zimbabwe should know, is University of Zimbabwe. PE is Prince Edward School, which is, I think it's in Moulton Park. Yeah, it's in Moulton Park. Yes, and the UK is the United Kingdom.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. All right. Good to meet you, Krishna. And let's go on to our last but not least, Tony.
Am I audible? Is it?
Yes.
Can you hear me? I'm having a
can you up the volume a little bit?
All right, definitely. Let me try and do that. Is that okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. So first, apologies for dropping in and out. I'm really struggling with the internet where I am at the moment. So I studied in Kenya most of my my life. I did my high school, primary school and high school and undergraduate degree in Kenya. I'm a clinician by profession. I specialize in public health, so my area of expertise is public health, and I'm interested in issues of health policy and practice. I'm also currently a PhD student and researcher, so I'm a clinical researcher doing a PhD that tries to understand how we can best deliver cardiovascular care in Kenyan primary care setting. So an entrepreneur, or rather budding entrepreneur, who's interested in the intersection of innovation and technology and nursing practice. So I'm currently thinking around how best we can actually innovate the delivery of nursing care services. Yeah, that's me. And I'm also quite yes, I'm a social media enthusiast, so I do a lot of social media things. Currently just finished a job with a Rhodes Scholarship on trying to rebrand their pages and their presence in the social media platform. So I do quite a lot of that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Tony. So I like the fact that you've worked actually doing some social media work, because you've had to think about how we position like a particular brand and how you communicate that. So I've was also hearing that the students were struggling to hear you a bit. So if we can find a way to turn your volume on or in your speaker, then that would be nice.
Let me try and do that.
But okay, so fantastic. We'll just dive in, but before we can like start talking about branding and stuff, because I know for you, Audrey, you've thought about branding in terms of like your business, right? How are you going to communicate your message? And how are you going to make sure that your message stands out when there's like millions of other psychology practices and clinical sort of companies that are doing the same thing as you? And for Edward, it's the same thing. When you're coming up with DRG Africa, you have had to think about, as a policy think tank, something that has not been common in Zimbabwe. How do you also position your brand? And for you, Krishna, starting many startups, brand is going to be important. And also marketing yourself to the bank that you recently got hired by. How did you position yourself? So those are things that we'll be discussing. And Tony, to hear more about your experience at Rhodes House, and also to hear more about your journey to Oxford, because you had to sort of handle yourself as a brand. So we'll be discussing that. But before we do, I would like to just call a few students to tell us at least what they understand about what personal branding is. So Panashe, can you please unmute for the students? Then we can hear what the students' perception is on brand or social media. So if we can have Esther and Tawana. Do we have Esther and Tawana in the room? And also Confidence. I like these names from yeah. So what I was asking is, because we're talking about personal branding, the question is, do you know anything about personal branding? And do you know what it is? What is your idea of personal branding?
I don't for personal branding. But I can actually tell you something about social media.
Okay.
For example, most of us are on WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And these applications are ways of identifying yourself, and that's it.
Okay, so you offer a very interesting perspective. Being on social media is one of the ways of identifying yourself, right? So any of our panelists who want to maybe say something about what has been shared about identifying yourself?
Yeah, I'm happy to say something.
Yeah, please.
So who am I talking to? Is it Tawana or Panashe? Because you mentioned two names, sorry. Who are you? Panashe or Tawana?
My name is Tawana.
Tawana. Okay, so Tawana, I find it interesting that when you came on, you spoke in Shona. That was quite interesting. Did that happen naturally or was it intentional? It happened naturally. Okay, great. So I think that's just how I'm just going to sort of make a comment about, you know, how you can integrate yourself as a person and the platforms you use. you say it happened naturally, meaning probably one of the most important aspects about being who you are is your language, and it's not just you. Language is important to everyone. Everyone has a language, everyone has a culture, everyone has a tradition. So as a psychologist, I suppose I'm interested in how people put together who they are as a person outside of social media and how they present themselves on social media. So I like the fact that you said we are now on all these platforms, but I guess the question becomes, are we aware? Do we know how to be on Instagram and be ourselves? Do we just get on Instagram? Do we plan what we put on Instagram? Do we know how to be on Facebook? Do we just choose to be on Facebook? Is it just a personal account? Or are we saying we want to do something with our presence on Facebook? Then even Instagram, do we understand how Instagram works? Do we decide, how we're going to be on Instagram? So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's nice to know that you're able to combine personal interests, Snoya naturally, and this okay, now I just started speaking in Shona, right? Meaning probably you want to even have a social media presence that has that Shona. But I think just to add to that, it's almost like saying there is a difference between yourself, like you being where you are in school right now, then your presence online. And I think that's what we're going to be tackling today. So I found that interesting.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks so much, Tawana, and very insightful comments from you, Audrey. Understanding that there's a difference between like your physical presence and actually your social presence. So we'll talk about that. But before we do, can we also have maybe one of the teachers who are in the room? Because I know we have 4 teachers in the room. So can we have a volunteer teacher to just come and share with us what they think why they think personal branding is kind of an interesting topic to discuss for students, and how what makes them sort of how they identify their brand to be. Teachers. Do you have teachers in the room? Oh, okay. Or maybe they want to share with us later. Is that right? Okay, I'll assume they want to share with us later, or I'll just call out a name. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start maybe with a question I always found interesting about branding and things like this, right? So we'll just do maybe like a round robin for our panelists to just share with us, like. So there's a question I found online, which I thought was kind of interesting. And this question, it says, what is your superpower? What do you do better than anyone else? So I'd like the panelists to start sort of answering this question. What is your superpower? And what do you do better than anyone else? So we can start with you, Tony, if you can try to speak up and the students can hear you. Oh, Tony just dropped. We'll go on to you, Krishna. Tony ran away from the question. We'll go on to you, Krishna.
Okay, so people have told me my superpower is staying calm. It doesn't sound like much, but when things get really tough, when there's a deadline, when things are just going wrong, I'm the one who's like taking control and making sure things get delivered. So I would say my superpower is staying calm. And Tony's back.
Oh, fantastic. So Krishna says his superpower is staying calm. So students, think about what your superpower is, because I'm going to call one or two of you to tell us what your superpower is. Tony, what is your superpower and what do you do better than anyone else?
I think my superpower is I'm quite persistent. So I think my superpower is actually being very persistent. I struggle with the idea of being okay with a no that is not explained and that is not critically examined. So I think for me, it's very much about being quite persistent. yes, what do I do better than anyone else? I think it's pretty much the fact that I'm a really good manager, and I'm quite attentive to detail. So that's one of the things that I think I do much better than most of the people that I have come across.
Fantastic. So we have heard from Krishna, whose superpower is staying calm when everything else is going wrong and everyone else is panicking. And Tony, superpower is being persistent and good attention to detail and being a good manager. And it's interesting how you guys have already these ideas of yourselves. We'll come as to like how you came to recognize that, because most times people around us tell us what our superpower is and all that stuff. So that's fantastic. We'll go to you, Edward. What is your superpower and what do you do better than everyone else?
Like, I think, like, if you talk about superpowers, I start to think about Superman and, like, being able to change the world in ways that nobody else can do. But just along the veins of what people usually say about myself, I feel like most people say I'm very good with people and I'm very good with bringing people together. And I feel like that's one quality that I also reflect on myself, where I've been able to network the room, like, network wherever I am in a way that brings people together. And I think that's one area that I've started to build even internally, trying to figure out like what's the best way to build a career around it. So I think my superpower is being able to connect with people from different backgrounds, from different cultures, from different countries, and being able to connect the dots on who works with who, and like, how this person can be helped by another person, or how I can connect with different people. I feel like that's my superpower, and that's how I've been able to get to where I am right now. Just being able to connect different people and connecting the dots.
Fantastic. Yeah. So Edward mentions that I probably won't do justice rephrasing what you said. I think it was very clear to what the students have understood, but being able to connect different people and connect different dots in terms of like for a collective vision, I think that's quite important. Then we will go over to you, Audrey. What is your superpower and what do you do better than anyone else?
If I had to insist on answering that question, because I feel like I can't back out. So if I had to then I just can't back out. Very obscure, but okay. I would say it's my ability to think outside of the box and work outside of the parameters that I set. I don't believe in limitation. And I tend to master something. So what I do is I understand something. Then when I feel like I've understood it fully, I tend to break it apart and explain it differently. So I would say that's my superpower. I tend to want to break things apart. I guess someone would say deconstruct, but I tend to first learn, understand, and then when I feel like I've understood something, a concept or a system, could be a system, I will then explain it in a way I understand, unpacking it, and I guess by doing that, I try to make whatever it is, if someone else had considered it difficult, I try to then make it easy for someone else. And then what I do better than other people, I would say, is I do have a tendency or an ability to not shy away from difficult subjects. I work in a diverse context, and if you know how South Africa is structured, just as in many African nations, a privilege or opportunities tend to be reserved for certain types of people. So I tend to not be afraid to challenge existing structures through questioning and through advocacy in my work, because I also think that in Africa, if you're doing anything that's worth doing, education, healthcare, if you're involved in anything that is very significant on an international level, you need to have an approach of advocacy. And I think all the panelists I'm hearing seem to have that approach as well. So I find that quite interesting. So yeah, I hope I've answered that.
You're powerful, yes, you have answered. Thank you so much. Yeah, so we've had like kind of quite a spectrum of sort of what everyone thinks that they're good at and they're super about. How does, maybe Tony, you can sort of help us to map everything that we've discussed. How is it important to understand what we're good at as it relates to social media, right? Because when you go on social media, we're communicating a message to the people around us or to people that follow us or anyone we talk to on WhatsApp or on Facebook. So how is it important for us to understand what we're good at as it relates to social media?
I think from my own understanding of having worked a bit in social media and also having being on social media myself, I think there has to be the first element is to first be very intentional about no, I don't think there's any problem whatsoever to actually group the different platforms to do the different things for you. So, for example, for me, Instagram is more of an aesthetic for me. So it creates so that when I talk about aesthetic, I mean it gives you an insight on the things that I actually care about in terms of like my own lifestyle and the people that I actually care about. Facebook is very much about a community of people that I've actually created around me, people who I'm comfortable to talk about difficult issues and things around, things that actually affect the society. Of course, LinkedIn for me is my professional platform. Twitter for me is basically an output for my research. So I think I'll probably begin by saying that you probably need to be very intentional about what platform is doing what for you, and that has to start by being aware of the different facets of your life that you actually want to put out there and share with the world. I think it's also very important to understand that the internet never forgets. Things that you actually share, that's true. Things that you actually put outside there will definitely come back to you. So every single time that you actually are planning to put things out there, you probably need to think about, is this necessary? Is this something that I actually would want to come back to me after 10 years or 20 years? So that's the way I think about leveraging social media as a platform for the different things that would actually be important to you. So I think that's all about branding as well. So I think branding, when you talk about personal branding, it has different elements to it. It could be your own the community you create around yourself. That's also the way Facebook for me. That's what Facebook is for me. In terms of like Twitter, the brand that is actually for me on Twitter is the research brand. That's what I do. That's my work. That's my output. In terms of like Instagram, it's about the places I love to visit, the places that I do not want to forget once it's all said and done. So I think it's that intentionality that is quite important when you're trying to think about branding and being on social media.
Thank you very much, Tony. So yeah, Tony mentioned about intentionality, right? And thinking about the different platforms we use. Some people use WhatsApp to just share pictures and videos. Some people use it solely to text their friends and families, and Facebook use it for different things. And I think it's a very fantastic point. Thinking about all the social media platforms that exist. Some of the students may not have used Twitter before, so they don't know actually what Twitter is, but they have definitely used Facebook and WhatsApp, and they may not have used Instagram as well, but going forward, maybe they will. But it's just good to get the perspective of that. And maybe let's jump on to you, Edward. I don't want to constrain the questioning to DRG or whatever, but just jump in with your thoughts on personal branding and social media. And if you want to link it to what your company is doing now, I think that would be important too.
Sure. I think, just to go back to your question on the one that you asked Tony on, why is it important for you to know yourself internally, and also how does social media come in? I think, the way that I was structured that is like the only way for you to build a brand is for you to know yourself. And I have a couple of questions that I kind of thought around that. Is like, so how does one say you know yourself, like, you know, so it's more like, who am I as a person? What do I do? What do I represent as a person? And what do I care about? I think those are some of the key questions that one can ask themselves to actually understand who they are. And if you bring all those questions together, they kind of make up what your brand is about. So like, let's say an individual, what do you represent? Who are you? Where do you come from? And stuff like that. And all of that make up a brand. And then you come down to the different tools that people use to express a brand. So that's when social media comes in. So things like Facebook, things like WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram, those are just tools that people are using to express a brand. So if you take together the question that I talked about, and then you combine it with the tools, you'll be able to express yourself, or you'll be able to express your brand. So just coming along to what Tony was saying, like, you know, different tools can be used for different purposes. So if you talk about, like, you know, things like Facebook or things like Twitter, those can be used to say, like, you know, reconnect with the people that you know, and also expressing your ideas, and also things like Instagram, those can be used to express your daily life in visual form, or like, you know, to express, like, you know, what your life is all about more in visual form. And like, you know, the way that I think about social media and branding, I think it's a little bit different from how I think about, like, from personal life and to my professional life. So the way that I tweet as DRG, the company that I work with, and also the way that I tweet as Edward Muguza, it's a little bit different. And the main reason why I say that is that, like, the way we think about it at DRG, it's a professional brand that is representing the voice of young people, the voice of many people. And what we believe in is Zimbabwe has the potential, Africa has the potential, and that potential will be driven by young people. So our brand as DRG is very imaginative, it's very energetic, and it's pretty much about, like, you know, challenging current notions. So that's like more a professional brand. So if you go on to the personal side as Edward Muguza, I also have my own brand that is more about, like, you know, academics, that is more about research, that is more about fun, that is more about, like, you know, being African and expressing myself. So there's a little bit of distinction between my organization, DRG, and also Edward Muguza. And I use different tools, the one that I mentioned, to express the different brands that are there. That's how that I think about it.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much, Edward, for sharing that. It's important. It's an important point to think of, you know, what you want to achieve and the message you want to communicate, right? And I think on the lowest level, it boils down to, if you're a student, you have your friends, the way you communicate to your friends is different from the way you communicate to your teachers, per se, or the way you present yourself to the principal of the school. So that same paradigm shifts over to the idea of using social media. And I'm glad you mentioned, like, how the differences in your work at JRG and also as a person. We'll go on to you, Audrey, just to share your thoughts, and if you want to link it to U+1S in terms of, like, creating your brand, what has informed the process of creating that brand, and is that brand changing, or will it ever change? And also link it back to your own personal use of social media and things you care about and things you don't care about.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. So I think on my end, what I've realized is that whether you are a person or you are a person who's considering going into the entrepreneurial space, you would still need to think in terms of timelines, I would say. Maybe this is me being very structured, and I tend to be contested by the tech people, but I feel like every person has a period with the materials, they're conceptualizing their planning, and that's the stage where they are being established, going through the establishing phase. Then afterwards, they become established, and afterwards they're able to be more meaningful in terms of how they engage. For some people, it happens faster than others. For some people, it doesn't. So I feel like it's the same with social media. I would want to look at the internet as a whole. It's brought us all at a place where we are. Look at what's happening now. We're able to have a conversation across different continents. That's pretty much what's happening now. So the African child has been literally placed in a position where they're able to compete or at least participate on an international level. So for me, I think the strategy part is more important than anything. So I would say if you've got a brand, especially one that you know you're going to grow with. So for example, U+ Wellness is something I'll grow with because it actually encompasses a philosophy I believe in, which is that it's important to look at the person, not just in terms of their limitations and not just in terms of their pathologies, but also in terms of their strengths. I feel like psychology is moving towards that. That's why there's such a move in coaching. So since I know I'm going to carry forward U+ Wellness, all I'm going to do is make it malleable. How it's going to appear online and how it appears in person is different. How the brand is expressed in a clinical setting where I'm doing medical psychology is different from how it's expressed in a workshop where I'm with employees doing a wellness day for a company. So my point is it's important to always think in terms of making your brand context appropriate, context relevant, and also in terms of planning, how your brand looks online, harnessing the tools that we have. So on that note, mine at the moment is tentative. It's just more of, okay, spreading that wellness message, But as I continue to grow and build a bigger structure in terms of my practice and my thinking around it, and testing out the relevance of it within the African context and internationally, I will eventually be able to then go full force in advocacy. Some people start differently. But advocacy, speaking out. But I know because of what I'm trying to attract, because of what I'm trying to do, I can't really go and start to talk about all these different subjects that people may not want to hear. So, so that's what I'm saying, the strategic part, and then understanding as well the phase that you are in. So I think within high school, it's more of that raw materials phase. So it's a beautiful stage to really start to say, what does this really mean? What does it really mean to be online? We never really had the privilege. In high school, I don't want to disclose my age, but in high school, it was literally just you're talking to your friends. I remember being always on my phone in high school. So, no, definitely the age has shifted. And I guess I'm just trying to think in terms of that as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks so much, Audrey. This is like some useful points. And really just link it back to each stage, your brand will evolve, right? It will change depending on what you want to achieve. So that's fantastic. Can we go maybe before we call some students to ask us questions and tell us what their superpowers are, which is they're getting ready to do now. Krishna, you have made a lot of startups and have had some experience in being a student, and now you're going into the professional world. One of the assignments we ask our students to do is to do a simple basic elevator pitch, right? Because it's important for a student to just walk up to someone. It doesn't have to be like a business elevator pitch. It could be a personal elevator pitch. You walk up to someone and say, hey, my name is Prince, and I am studying XYZ, and this is what I like to do. That's an example of an elevator pitch. So we believe at Imagination Africa that at least each high school student should have an elevator pitch that can be suited to personal context, that can be suited to them speaking with elders, or that can be suited to them introducing themselves in a proper internship interview or something like that. So maybe you can just share any general thoughts you have on what we have discussed so far and give us your example of an elevator pitch, what it is, why it's important, and how the students can start thinking about what an elevator pitch is.
Okay, so I'll just add my 2 cents on the personal brand. So from my experience, a personal brand is what other people see you as. It's very difficult to control on your own. So what you need to do is you need to perform actions and publicly display them for your personal brand to change. If you say that I am this person or I'm that person, nobody's going to believe you. Actions speak louder than words. Another thing, it's very context specific, as was previously mentioned. So like, for example, I had a few startups and I was looking for funding, basically money for the startups. And weirdly enough, a social media presence would actually like put off potential investors. So they wanted more like organic personal brands. So like people I met in person, and that obviously they did look up my social media profiles, which I have restricted, by the way, from public view, which I suggest you do as well. But so it's very context specific. So for example, when you're on Facebook, the brand you're presenting there is to your friends. So what do your friends want to see you as? When you're on LinkedIn, you're presenting a very professional look. So I just wanted to stress the point about context, and I'll talk about elevator pitches. So the thing about elevator pitches is when you get into like a setting where people are like pitching themselves, a lot of people are pitching. You need to stand out from the crowd. So for example, if you go to a business networking event or like for an internship, they've probably interviewed like 20 or 30 other people. So you need to stand out. So it's important to be very concise and precise about what you're saying. And don't be shy, be straightforward. And as a Zimbabwean, the way I was brought up, like in the schooling system and in my family, it's difficult for me to like boast about myself. Like we're brought up to be humble. That is not how the world is supposed to work. You need to be proud of what you've done and be able to talk about it. So for an elevator pitch, what I normally do is I make sure like my opener pretty much summarizes who I am or who I think I am. And if the person sees value in me, they will either continue the conversation or they won't. So for example, my opener is normally like, hi, I'm Krishna. I'm a problem solver. And then I go on to give like examples of that. So for example, I realized that food was being wasted in supermarkets and there were people who didn't have food. So I created a startup to get food which would have been otherwise thrown away to low income earners. I like solving problems. That's basically what I do. And I could go with other examples as well. So basically a good strategy is obviously you need your name. If you can make it catchy, that's great. But you need to state like a one line of who you are and then have like a few examples to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could, there's alternative ways, but from my experience, if you do not catch the attention of the person in the first 1 or 2 sentences, like it'll be difficult to come back.
Fantastic. Yeah, so actually all the students in the room will have to make elevator pitches, and we are going to have an elevator pitch competition where the best student will be given a prize. And we're actually going to move to some corporate CEOs in Zimbabwe and show these elevator pitches. So there's a good, fantastic opportunities for these students to get opportunity for internship and things like that, just based on these elevator pitch ideas. So thanks so much for sharing. So from the panelists, anyone wants to share their elevator pitch?
I think everyone should.
Okay, everyone should. So we have all the panelists do a 1 minute elevator pitch, 1 minute, okay? Then after that, we're gonna have students. So let me just say which students are going to come. We're gonna have some volunteer, but can we get Confidence to be ready, and Asha, if you haven't come up before, then also it would be nice to have one teacher give their elevator pitch. And remember, students, we said this is an opportunity for you to actually win a competition. We have prize money for the best elevator pitch, and we will also have you present. We'll take a video that will be shown to one of the CEOs in big companies in Zimbabwe. Yeah. There's a question? Okay, so meanwhile, the EA team, can you please get the students, 2 or 3 students ready to give sort of the elevator pitch after the panelists have given their examples, then we can sort of move from there. Okay, panelists, are you ready? Everyone is gonna give one, right?
Sure.
We'll start with you, Tony.
Oh, me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Mine is not even going to be 1 minute.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's do this. I would do like a 1, 2, 3, start, so that students actually know that you're now in an elevator pitch mode, right?
Okay, yeah, but I'm going to say that I'm going to try and sell myself in 20 seconds.
Brilliant. It's even better the shorter, right? Yeah. Okay. 3, 2, 1, start.
I am Tony Mode. I'm a Kenyan and an implementation scientist. I believe that no one should die from preventable diseases, and I am trying to solve that through evidence-based interventions that could work in primary care settings. Done.
Fantastic.
That's a good one, eh?
So Tony gave an elevator speech, which I would never do justice saying, but what Tony has managed to do is tell us, hi, I'm Tony, and tell us that I am a scientist and I like to solve this particular problem because I believe no one should ever suffer from this particular problem. Fantastic. Okay, we'll move on to Krishna.
Oh, okay. So I would like to point out I've got like 4 or 5 different elevator pitches depending on the audience. So what you need to do is, just a tip, when you're applying for internships, make sure you look at the company and what they're looking for and like adjust your elevator pitch to them. So I'll give you like my academic one basically. So I'm Krishna, I'm an entrepreneur. To that end, I started a few startups in Zimbabwe. Some failed, some didn't. And then I realized I lacked certain knowledge and skills, which is why I applied for the Rhodes Scholarship and I came to study in Oxford. So I studied a master's in computer science and a master's in business administration to polish up both my technical and business skills so I can be more successful in my startups. Okay, so that was more like an entrepreneurship one, yeah, but yeah, basically.
The entrepreneurial academic mix, yeah. That's Edward, over to you.
Good. I think, like, for me, the way that I think about elevator pitches is pretty much being a salesman, and this is what we pretty much do all the time. Right? Like, you're always selling yourself. Either like you're selling yourself to, let's say you're selling a product, or you're selling yourself to a friend. If you want to take them somewhere, or like you're even selling yourself, like if you want somebody to eat something, so like can you try this and stuff. So that's like what the elevator pitch is all about, like you trying to sell yourself. The way that I express myself in an elevator pitch, so I'm gonna go. My name is Edward Muguza, and I'm a development practitioner and a business consultant. I currently run an organization called Development Reimagination Group, which focuses on helping businesses and governments to reimagine the future. I've been doing this work for the past year, and my background is in sciences, and I also have a public policy background. My passion is making sure that we develop Africa to be at another level than where we are right now, and that's my elevator pitch.
Fantastic. Thanks, Edward. So you mentioned your name, you mentioned what you are, and you mentioned what you do. Those 3 aspects came out fantastic. Audrey.
Okay, so I must just say once again, this is my first time doing an elevator pitch. I didn't even know there was a technical term for it. Okay? I didn't even know. But okay, here goes. My name is Audrey, and I never take no for an answer. When I was in university, I did a year's work in 6 months because I'd been told that I wasn't going to be able to complete in record time enough for me to get an A for my degree. So I decided to complete in record time. When I was doing my internship, in order for me to become licensed as a psychologist, I decided to do my board exam 8 months before I completed my articles because I planned way ahead. So I'm always conceptualizing. I tend to enjoy understanding and mastering systems, setting up the structures, and then moving on. So I'd want to believe that I solve problems. I hope that's good enough, guys. I'm
Fantastic.
done.
That's really good.
I mean, you're probably done.
We already have a winner.
But then I stole the problem solving. Someone mentioned something about problem solving, so I just threw that in.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, thanks so much. Like, You've probably done elevator pitches a lot of times when you were introducing your company to people, but this was good that you managed to wing another one on here. Okay, can we have 2 or 3 students just come forward, tell us what their superpower is within their elevator pitch? So I'd ask for Asha and Confidence, then we can have any other volunteer who wants. Students? And then we're also getting 1 teacher, right? Yeah, you can go.
I'm Confidence, right? And I'm 16 years old. My superpower is, my superpower is I can control my anger anytime, anywhere. Yeah.
Brilliant. Can you give a hand to Confidence? Okay, so it was good to see the confidence that Confidence had. Okay, fantastic. Next.
I am Asha Kamparan. I'm 23 and 16 years old. And my superpower is that I'm confident whatever I'm doing at the time.
Yes. Any other volunteers from the students? Come on, yes. Don't be shy.
I say, my name is Tafazo Akazepo, and I'm 16 years old. My superpower is I like socializing too much, especially listening to other people's problems. I like to help them, like what Mr. Edwards.
Great.
Fantastic. So by the way, Tafazo, I don't think there's anything called too much. It's all subjective, is it? So you're doing really well. Socialize and hear other people's problems, because that's how you're gonna know the problems to solve, right? So very good. Next. Anyone else? I think we have brilliant students in the room. Come on, yes.
Lastly, I think you know me. My name is Guzman, and I'm 15 years old. My superpower is just similar to Jafazo's. My superpower is socializing. I love to make people comfortable. They have to be comfortable while they're talking to me, and also solving problems.
Brilliant. So you see, it's important to socialize and to make other people comfortable socializing with you. That's an important point. Okay, so can we have a teacher, or we can just have all the teachers in the room if we can't have a volunteer? We just want to know what your superpower is, and if you use social media, what do you use it for?
How are you, sir?
Hello.
Hi, my name is Valerie Mteta. I'm actually one of the teachers here. I have a lot of superpowers, but my major superpower is interacting with the students and giving them advice whenever possible. That's my superpower.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's very important just to have. Yeah, Tony, you're saying something.
Yes, if you just allow me, I just have to add that teaching is actually a superpower. So the teacher, I think teaching is actually their superpower in that particular aspect of it. So I think that's a point to note as well as a superpower. I think very few people can actually teach and confer knowledge. So that's amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. So you hear to what Tony mentions is teaching is actually a superpower itself. So when you see your teachers, they're actually superhumans. Okay? Just like all of you in the room. Okay, so we have about, we are going above board on time, but I would like for us to, I mean, it was kind of tough just talking about personal branding and social media all at once because we had to condense this into one session. We'll just open the floor to some questions that the students have. Then we can take 5 minutes to answer those questions and then wrap it up. So any questions that you guys have pertaining to personal branding or social media or superpowers or elevator pitches? And you can direct any questions to any of the panelists that are on the panel.
Hi, my name is Faru Sangoma, and I would like to ask, how did you manage to get to this extent, or did you have sleepless nights to get to this extent?
You're asking the panelists, how did they get to where they are? Did they have sleepless nights, or it was just like they woke up and then they were owning companies?
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, do you want to take a minute to respond? Because each one of you will have a response, but let's maybe keep it to a minute. How did you get to where you are? What got you there? What energies, what motivated you?
I think maybe I can take that on. I think, like, to be where I am right now, I think the main driving push was just looking through my background and where I come from. I'm from Glenora, which is very much a similar area like Highfield. And like, when I was growing up, I always said, like, I want to be better than where I am right now. And that was the main driving force. So that pretty much like, pretty much pushed me to play to my strengths. And I was very good on my academics. So I pretty much studied a lot in my O levels. I did a lot of sleepless nights during my A levels when I was studying maths, physics, and chemistry. And also I did very well, then went on to go to university. So what I can say, it's a lot of, like, personal drive, thinking through my background and where I want to be, and also a lot of hard work. I think nothing can substitute hard work. You have to put in the hours. You have to make sure that you drive yourself to beyond your capabilities. That's what I can say.
Hard work is important. Anyone else on the panelists?
I think I can add to that comment. I started my own business because I realized that as when you learn and you become academic, you're put in that box, and also the university system or the education system doesn't give you the entrepreneurial skills. So I sort of went against the grain. I went against the grain, and I think that's the most important thing. Yeah, and then also it was as a means to have a solution, because a lot of people study psychology, then they feel like they don't have anything else that they can do afterwards. So I thought if I start my own business, then I'm actually providing opportunities to give information to psychology students about what they can do with their degree, and then also to train psychologists, up-and-coming psychologists, supervise them, that they're more effective in their community, but in particular emphasizing the entrepreneurial skills. And I guess entrepreneurship is not really about starting your own thing as much as it's having a business development mindset. So I think for me, that was the motivation. The motivation was just so that there aren't as many limitations in the space that I'm in.
So the urgent desire to solve a problem and to go against the tide, right? I think those are fantastic points. To your question also, just trying to answer it personally, the answer is yes. I had some sleepless nights. I think it will be important to not be comfortable where you are and try to strive to be different to those around you. Any other questions? Yeah, oh, sorry. Yeah, Tony, please jump in.
To probably add to that, I think it's definitely true that you have to, of course, have your, of course, put be hardworking and put the effort that is needed to be put in. But I also feel like there's also something you're actually has worked in my own instance in the fact that I was actually very proactive in terms of looking for opportunities. And that's how I came across the Rhodes Scholarship and things like that. So it's also being a hard worker, yes, but also being very strategic about the things that you actually want to do. And some of the ways of being strategic is also by paying attention to what's happening on the ground and trying to push yourself, towards the opportunities that are actually available for you. So yeah, so it's also about also paying attention to opportunities as well.
Fantastic. Being a hard worker, paying attention to opportunities, going against the tide. Those are some of the key points we have had. Okay. Do we have any other questions from the students? Maybe we'll take one more question and then we can wrap up, one or two more. So if there's anyone who has a question, you can come up so that after the next student is done, you can always go on. And please, Farai, let us know if we're doing fine on time, and do let us know so we don't go too much above. Over to you. Good. Oh, sorry, I think you're on mute. Yeah.
I say, my name is Raymond Munema, and my question goes like this. How are you able to discover your superpower?
That's a brilliant question. And okay, how are you able to discover your superpower? So we'll just table that question for now. And we'll get another question. Then just wait where you are. We'll just get one more question so that we can get the panelists to kind of answer both questions at once. One more question. Any more questions? Okay, so yeah, just stay there. We'll get one more question from this gentleman, then the panelists will try to answer both.
Hello, sir. My name is Max Romanya. My question goes is, when you were growing up, like, you had this dream, like, I want to be a scientist or something else, but right, where you are right now, like, was it because you choose to be where you are, like, oh man, just so, like, let's say people who do science are just being taken, and then you said, I want to do science just because they're being taken, or like,
That's it. So this question was, did you choose to go the route that you went? Okay, like if you wanted to be a scientist or if you ended up being in business, did you choose that route, or use the Shona term? We have one person on the call, one of our panelists, Tony, who is from Kenya, so Tony will not understand Shona. You said Janga Jagara Shingori Muroba, right? Which means was that like were you just born with it? Is it part of your blood that you just were born to be a scientist, right? Is it what sort of genetic that you're a scientist? So that's what the guy has asked. So what we can do is we can have two panelists attack one question, then the other two attack the other question. So panelists, feel free to just pick which one. Like, how did you discover your superpower? That was the first one. And the next one was, how did you choose your path, or it was just born to be?
Yeah, maybe I can jump in and ask, pretty much answer the last question about, like, how did I end up where I am? Like, was it born with me and stuff? So, like, yeah, I started off when I was in school. I was doing sciences, like what I said. I was doing maths, physics, and chemistry, and I thought I was going to be a medical doctor. I had actually applied to University of Zimbabwe, and I got in place. And then my trajectory changed when I got a scholarship to go to the United States. And when I went to the United States, I started taking a lot of different subjects, starting from economics to development, and also even the sciences. I think up to about third year, that's when I discovered that even though I really care about the sciences, I really enjoy the sciences, but I also enjoy working with people and pretty much thinking through problems in our communities. So from there, that's when I moved to the development business side, and I also wanted to major with business. So I started a career in development and business. Even though I was a scientist when I was growing up, I enjoyed the sciences. But I think when I was also like in university, I also discovered that I enjoyed working with people. So I moved more towards that.
Fantastic.
I think from my end, I feel like it's an interaction between nature and nurture, because the question of was it always in you, the innate part? That question, I would say it's a combination. So what I would advise, which is probably what happened, and a lot of things we understand in retrospect. That's why it's always nice to have people that have more experience speak to you. What I understand now at this stage that I didn't understand then was that I was like, oh, you think too much, you're such a thinker, you reflect a lot, you should be a psychologist. I didn't even know what a psychologist was. I wasn't interested. But then I started to look at the subject I liked in high school. I liked English and business studies because I didn't have to study as much for them. So that's not a really good reason to like something. But anyway, so you need to look at what comes easily for you. What are you interested in? So when I got to university, I had an option to study psychology through BSc, as a science, or through B.Art. Then I chose the arts because I knew I already found theories fascinating and easier for me. So I think it's important to keep, thinking in terms of what you enjoy, but also listening out to what other people that know you are saying about you. And I think if you combine those two, you're able something that comes naturally to you, but you're actually also discovering your superpower.
Thank you, Audrey. Very good point. Krishna.
Okay, so I'll try and answer both questions with one answer. I don't know if that's possible. So my dream initially was to be a computer scientist. I pretty much stuck with it. But what you'll realize is as you grow, as you mature, your dreams might change. And because of that, you need to always consider the opportunities on your table at that point. And as you grow also, you'll start figuring out what you're good at. People will tell you what you're good at, and that way you'll discover your superpower as well. So basically what I'm saying is you're going to embark on a journey. It's important to have your goals in mind. What do you want from life? And always look at the opportunities on your table. So a random opportunity which is not aligned to your goals might pop up, but you should consider how that might benefit you or how it might be to your detriment. But it's always about keeping an open mind, keeping your goals in mind, and making sure you always look at the opportunities you have.
Brilliant. Tony, have you given us your responses?
Not yet. I think mine really ties up with what Krishna just said. I think it's been, when I look back, it's been two things. Basically, it's been slowly discovering what, the fires inside. So basically, what are the things that I'm actually quite interested in, and also, of course, tying that to the opportunities around, but also just trusting the process. I think many times we don't trust the process. We want to get to the finishing line quite fast, and it's okay to actually trust the process. The process actually makes people who they are. I think for me, increasingly being a 24-year-old, even when I look at myself 2 years ago, I'm not the same person who was there 2 years ago. So I've learned to be a bit more patient with myself and to just pay attention to the things around me and also live at the moment. And I think as a young person, I hope someone told me that, because I think I was always in a rush to get somewhere. I think as young people, we should probably stop being in a rush to get somewhere and actually enjoy the process itself, but also have your values and virtues and interests, well aligned way in advance. But then also just trust the process. If you identify the things that you want to do, the process will definitely get you there.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
thank you so much, guys. You have had a lot of great wealth of information here. It's that knowing your superpowers is about listening to people around you, and sometimes you self-learn in the process. You actually see that, oh, I'm not good at this, and you iterate and you choose what you're good at as you go. And also, you raise a good point, Tony, on trusting the process, right? So
Yeah.
I'm one of the victims of that. Like, I want to be, well, this is a terrible example, but I'll just use it. I want to be like a millionaire today. I want to be like a Strive Masiwa today. But even Strive Masiwa, who you, all of you guys in the room, the students know, didn't get to where he is, like on the snap of a finger, right? When he was my age, he was probably where I am, or even where you guys are in a class asking good questions like this, but it's the process which will get you to where you are. So thank you guys for that. We'll just wrap it up now. So because I know that we have gone over time, if the panelists have any last words to say, this is the time to do that. Then we will finish the session for today.
Yeah, maybe I can go. I think, like, yeah, what I would like to say to the students is that, like, you know, like what I said, there's no substitute for hard work. You need to put in the effort right now so that you build your career long term. And in relation to issues about, like, you know, social media and branding, that is a very important topic that you need to think about right now. Who you are right now defines your future. So you're pretty much building your foundation right now, and think about, like, you know, what are the things that you care about, what are the things that you're good at, and what are your future goals. So you pretty much start to build your brand right now so that it aligns with your future goals. And I think that's all I can say is that, like, you know, where I am right now, it just didn't happen. I had to put in the effort. It also took a lot of networks. It also took a lot of people that were helping me along the way. So in whatever that you do, remember the people that need to support you. Make sure you build strong connections with your classmates. You also build strong networks with even people outside of your school, and all the best going forward.
Fantastic. Thank you, Edward. Audrey?
I think from my end, I just want to say what a privilege it's been to join in the session today and to actually see through to the end. I've learned quite a lot from the panelists as well. And it makes me realize something, you know, that I think you can also take away to the students. Learning is a continuous process. I don't think that you ever really get to a point where you're done learning. And part of you being able to grow as a person is you opening yourself up to other people that know more than you. So don't be afraid to be around people that are different from you. Don't be afraid to be around people that have different beliefs, different backgrounds. You know, be curious, be inquisitive, because the more questions you ask, the more likely you are going to have to find the answers. And then also don't ever allow your context to limit you, because I know it can be like, oh, but then it's easy for you to say because you're in this space. Don't compare yourself to anyone. Your journey is unique. In the same way that you are unique, there's only one you. So I think that's the most important thing that I would want to leave with you. Just don't forget that part. Like, there's nobody else but you, like you. And that makes all the difference.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Audrey. This is great stuff. Krishna.
Okay, so what I would say is dreams can come true. If you want something and you work hard for it, it will happen. So when you think about your future career options and what you want to do, have an open mind, even if it seems out of reach. If you work hard enough, it will come through. Yep, that's pretty much what I've said.
Yeah. Thank you, Krishna. Over to you, Tony.
Yeah, I think as what Audrey said, I think it's an honor to get to speak to students in Zimbabwe, which I have never been to Zimbabwe, but you know, the first time I'm actually going to Zimbabwe. So thank you so much, Prince. I think two things for me. One is the fact that it's important for young people, including ourselves, to listen to themselves. So by that I mean pay attention to yourself. Don't sometimes it's good and it's recommended to definitely listen to people and things like that. But also it's very important for people to start listening to themselves. What works for you? Because I realized that what worked for me essentially couldn't work for anyone else potentially, or maybe could only work for a few other people. And also the other thing is the fact that again, I always say trust the process. I think some of the things that are actually affecting young people now is the fact that they actually want to leapfrog, and sometimes that could be impossible. Trust the process, enjoy every single time, enjoy being 16, being 17, being 18, enjoy your internships, enjoy the things that actually build character and virtue. And at the end of the day, you'll actually get to where you need to be. Don't be in a rush. Enjoy being in high school. So pretty much that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Tony, and thank you guys for coming to this session and taking your time. I know we went 27 minutes over. We'll do better with time, but we just really like to hear the ideas of the panelists, and I love to hear the students participating also in the session. Can we just give all our panelists a hand, a round of applause? Just say thank you for your participation. Fantastic. Farai, from your side, is everything all clear? Ready to end? Fantastic. Thank you guys, and thank you EA team for making this happen. And thank you students and teachers for participating in our global competency program, which we aim to expand to many, many high schools in the country. But we hope that this was a fruitful experience for you. Cheers and have a rest of a great week. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.